if you're a 100 crore firm, and the kind of marketing strategies that would work for you if you have 20 people sitting in your office, right? So we're going to go over these differences and why they matter, and how the tools that you use are going to determine whether you succeed or not in the market. So the panelists are, yes, myself, I'm Kohan. I'm from a company called Celestia. There's Pavan from Plum5, Chirantan from TCS. And we're going to talk about how to pick marketing strategies and tools that meet your company's needs. I'm going to start with the story of David and Goliath. Now, all of you must have heard the story of this big guy who went to fight with a small guy. And if I were this small guy, or if I were this big guy, I'd have to choose my strategies and my tools according to what's right for me to work with. And this is a very, very illustrative, very beautifully illustrative story. Supposing I was small, I'd want to keep my distance. I'd want to use tools that allow me to keep my distance. Now you see how strategy is very closely tied into tools. Based on how I'd like to fight the marketing battle, I need to choose the tools that let me fight the marketing battle the way I want to fight it. And these choices, the choice of strategy and the choice of tools, are very closely linked to my company's size, the kinds of products I wish to bring to market, and the competition size, and the competition strategy. So based on a lot of these things, I'm going to have to choose my strategies and my tools in a very careful manner. So let's look at some typical big firm strategies. If I were a big firm, how would I use digital marketing and social media channels, right? And this is something that's been around for a very long time. So ever since 2004, 2005, since social media took off, we've seen what are called social media monitoring tools, and companies have used them to tackle complaints on social media. And we know that this is very important because failure to do so, can lead to very bad things. You must have come across a YouTube video, many of you. You should look for it if you haven't. There's this video going around called, United Breaks Guitars. It's a beautiful example of how, when you don't listen to what your customers are saying on social media, you can actually get a lot of bad publicity. You might have also come across this Forbes study on a hashtag called CCD sucks. This is about a group of customers who went to CCD and had a pretty bad experience there, and they started discussing it using this hashtag on Twitter, and that hashtag went viral, right? And that also was fairly damaging to CCD's reputation at that point. And so one of the ways in which companies, big companies, have traditionally used social media is to watch out for complaints. They've also used it. They use social channels to promote their brand, okay? And one of the very powerful ways in which you could promote your brand if you're big is by using the influence of net promoters on people who are undecided. Supposing I have a lot of customers. In this case, in this slide, let's consider these blue circles to be customers of a big firm. The orange circle represents somebody who is not decided about what to buy, So orange circle asks a question: should I buy A? Should I buy B? And this happens quite often, and this often happens on social channels. And I'll give you some examples of those. So when this person is trying to make a choice between A and B, supposing this firm has a good following on social media, A will see, for example, that one of their friends uses product A. One of their friends recommends product A, one of their friends likes product A. And then, this person's very likely to go and choose product A because they feel confident that their friends and people they know actually like and have benefited from this particular product. And the third way that people use social media channels is for customer service. Airtel Presence is a beautiful example of customer service done right through social media. If any complaints are voiced through social channels, through Twitter or through Facebook, it's great to see somebody responding to it and saying, hey, we can solve your problems. Just come and reach out to us on this phone number and we'll solve that for you, right? And that's the third way that companies have used social media channels. The tools you need for these are ORM tools, SMM tools, and social CRM tools. Now these tools have been around for a very long time, and they have capabilities which have been tuned, and everybody expects these capabilities in these tools today. So they usually, the ORM tools can spot negative mentions. Anybody says something bad about your product, ORM tools spot that. They can spot trending negative mentions. You know, a lot of people have suddenly started congregating around a hashtag and they've started bashing it. And your name's connected with that hashtag, these tools will spot it. There are also social media marketing and analytics tools which help you schedule your posts to social media. They help you measure how are people connecting with these posts, you know, who likes the posts, at what time should I post if somebody, you know, to reach out to the maximum number of people. And then they also calculate sentiment and give you analytics on these. And the tools are the standard tools, you know, Radian 6, you must have heard of Altium. There's a firm called Social 360 based in India which sells such tools. Engager and TCS has a tool called TCS Listening. And I think Chirantan will be able to tell us a little bit about TCS Listening at a later stage. There are also tools called social CRM tools that are used for customer service. You know, these are what enable a service like Ethel Presence to work. Okay, so they can spot mentions of a brand, and they can spot a customer service workflow or a sales workflow. You know, they can sort of bring in a question and say, hey, you know, let's open a ticket for this question and let you deal with that. Some of the vendors of these tools are New Hive. You must have heard of New Hive. It's a company from Bangalore. Airport is a new company. They deal with the complaints on social media, Conversocial and Get Satisfaction. These are tools that you know you can use to deal with you know an operations workflow around social media complaints and you know social media inquiries that have been coming in about your brand. Okay. Now, what I want you to observe is all of these tools need you to be a big firm. Okay. Traditionally, most people talking about social media tools would have talked about this set of tools. Okay? And the problem with online reputation management is you first have to have an online reputation to manage. Okay, so that you need to be big. It's only if you're big that you're going to have a reputation. You know, people are going to know about you and talk about you only if you're a big firm. Same problem with social media marketing tools. You can schedule posts to your followers and expect them to act upon it only if you have followers. Okay? A lot of small firms, when they start out, nobody's heard about them, nobody's heard about those brands, and they don't have much of a following on any social media channels. Okay, so SMM and ORM do not necessarily work for small firms, for startups that they're starting out. You know, because nobody's heard about them, they don't have an audience. And social CRM again doesn't work because they don't have customers. You know, there are no customers coming out there, you know, sending complaints to them on social media. So traditional social CRM that listens for their hashtags or for their names, for their brand names, don't necessarily work. I've seen a lot of firms do this. You know, I've seen a lot of small real estate firms go out and create a Facebook page, a Twitter page, and then they buy these tools and then they start listening. You know, and then they say, hey, you know, I just wrote about this and nobody liked it, nobody retweeted it. I don't know if anybody's been seeing it. And then you look at the number of followers they have, and they have 20 followers, right? And it's not working for them, obviously. You know, nobody's heard about them, nobody's searching for them. And in those cases, you need to do something different. And now this is a big market. Small and medium businesses actually are a very big market. It's estimated that about 99.7% of companies that hire people have fewer than 500 workers. You know, and about 90% of them have less than 20 workers. So 90% of employers are very, very small firms, and these firms, you know, they sort of are responsible for about half the revenue, half the GDP of a country, and tools for them will look very different. The primary problem that small firms try to solve is customer acquisition. Okay, so how do I solve the problem of acquiring customers through digital marketing? And that's what we're going to discuss today. There are these 6 strategies that you could use to promote yourself on social media if you're a small firm, okay? And you must have heard of some of these. SEO is something that everybody's heard of. And there is a close relative of it called content marketing. And content marketing is more of a superset of a marketing strategy that's based on SEO. You can, of course, do search engine marketing. There's something called interactive marketing, which is really new. Interactive marketing tools that let you effectively market yourself interactively, have been around for a very, very short time. Okay, so these tools haven't been around all that long, and it's amazingly interesting to see what they're capable of doing. Viral marketing, or rather I call it distributed marketing, there's some tools for that. Event marketing is very important if you're a small firm. I'm going to talk about only the underlined topics because it's rather a pretty big set of topics to cover, so I thought I'd just go with 3 of them. I'll talk about content marketing, interactive marketing, and I'll talk about influencer marketing. Okay, I'm going to talk about each of these strategies for marketing with a goal of acquiring customers. All right, and I'm going to tell you what works, when, and for what sort of firms. So the first strategy we're going to look at is promoting your company through content marketing. Okay, and for this you typically use marketing automation tools. Okay, there's a category of tooling called marketing automation, and these can be used very effectively to promote even a small firm through what's called inbound marketing. You're bringing the customer into your page, you're getting them to interact with you on your page, and you're going to capture leads as they come in and as they find you. It's about letting yourself be found. It's about advertising what you have in a way that makes it easy for customers to find, and then using that to identify the customer, get a handle on the customer, get a handle on who it is that is likely to buy your products, to sort of identify them, get hold of their identity. That is the goal of content or inbound marketing, right? Content marketing and inbound marketing, these terms are slightly different. Inbound marketing is any marketing where you sort of let yourself be found by a customer, and the customer comes and asks you for your product, rather than you going and asking the customer if they want your product, right? So rather than picking up the phone and calling somebody and saying, hey, do you want to buy whatever I'm selling? You're going to say, all right, I'm going to leave the door open, let the customer walk in. Okay, and you're going to basically make it easy for customers to find you. Okay, that's the goal of inbound marketing. Content marketing lets you create content that helps people find you, and we're going to go over that and see how to do it. These tools generally can do roughly whatever ORM tools can do. They can spot mentions on social media, but they also operate outside of social media. So they operate on the web. They let you advertise yourself through search engine optimization as well, and almost all of them also support email marketing. Some of these brands are very, very popular. They're very well known. So you must have heard of HubSpot, Marketo, Vocus, Pardo, Eloqua. These are very, very popular tools. There is also a beautiful company in Bangalore called Plum5, which I was very surprised to find also develops tools of this sort. And they have a very good offering. They have a beautiful offering which is very powerful and very full featured. And it's quite a bit cheaper than most other tools. And you get to talk to the guy who works for Plum5 as well in a little bit. Okay, so this is the marketing tools, marketing automation tools market. If you look at the market leaders, you'll find Marketo, Eloqua, HubSpot. These are the big guys. They've been around for a while, and they have a large share of the market. And now I'm going to just tell you a little bit about how content marketing works. Okay, so in content marketing, you're using 3 different channels usually, and you're using the fact that people who want something are likely to go and search for it by using certain keywords. Okay, you're using the fact that maybe when I need to search for a cell phone, I'm going to go and type cell phone pricing in India on the search engine, right? And so it uses the idea of creating content about whatever it is I'm selling, disseminating it through digital media, and then using lead capture forms to identify the customers who come in and view my content. So here's an example. Let's say I'm Tally. All of you know about Tally, the financial accounting packages company, and let's say I work for Tally and I want to promote tools for accounting, and I want to sell it to chartered accountants. So firstly, I go about creating some articles around keywords that potential customers would search for. You know, I might create content about, I might write some articles about accounting. I might write some articles about accounting software, tax preparation maybe about cost accounting. And then I would put out the content on various forms of digital media. You know, and the web, the World Wide Web is an important channel for disseminating content, right? So the first thing I do is I go and create a web page with articles that have those keywords on them, right? So I might create a web page under tallysolutions.com with the name 5 accounting tips for small firms, okay? Now you must notice that I've used the keyword accounting in the URL itself. I've used the keyword in the title. I've used the keyword that I'm trying to promote in the content, okay? So I'm hoping that this will help the search engine maybe return one of my pages as a result when somebody searches for something related to accounting, right? And that is the goal of it. And you know, these are the analyses you can perform on your content. Now, as you create this content and you create multiple pages about different things and put them up on your website, you can see what sort of response it's drawing, how many people are visiting these pages, what are the most popular pages, you know, which are the pages they're coming into your website from. So that will give you an idea of what keywords are really working for you. What keywords, what are the pages that they actually quit, that they, you know, that they seem to be exiting your page from. You get an idea of, you know, a lot of things about the pages and how they work from using any of these tools that, you know, that you'd use for SEO or content marketing, right? So you can use Google Analytics to get a good idea of a lot of this. You can use any of the marketing automation vendors tools as well. Okay, and another thing you might want to do is you might want to take that content and put it out on social media for people to find, okay? So the way to optimize that is to post it at times when people who are going to be your customers or might be your customers are likely to find it. And using keywords or hashtags that they're likely to search for. Okay, now it's a new behavior that people are observing is that a lot of people do searches on Twitter and Facebook for things they want to buy, okay? So a lot of people actually search not just on Google or search engines, but also on social media platforms. So if you use hashtags that they're likely to search for, there's a chance that they might find your content and come to your website when they look to buy something that you're selling, okay? Now the thing about these tweets or posts on social media is that they usually have a life of about 3 hours. So for these things to be seen, you need to post them at a time when people are likely to be checking their social media accounts. And in many countries, this happens to be, for example, on Twitter. You know, the time varies for different platforms. For Twitter, a lot of people tend to check Twitter when they're traveling, you know, but they're on the way home, while they're commuting in the bus, for example. You know? So in many countries where public transport is very popular, people would probably, you know, are most likely to check their Twitter accounts at about 4 or 5 o'clock on the way home. So you need to post somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock to get maximum responses for your social media posts, right? So there are tools which help you identify the sweet spot in which to post, and that will help you schedule your posts as well, right? So Plumfire, HubSpot, Hootsuite, Sprout Social, and Buffer are popular tools that are used to disseminate this content to different social media channels. Now, once you've disseminated the content, you start analyzing the reaction that people have to the content, okay? So you can look at people who visit your website, people who respond to your email, people who view your email, people who like your posts on social media, people who are in your CRM who've written to you about something, people who've interacted with your shopping carts. And this is a slide that I got from Plumfire, but they do what's called behavioral analytics. They analyze all these different behaviors of customers and predict who is likely to buy your product. So which of these people do you need to reach out to? And this is also a process called lead scoring. So you have a lot of leads sitting around, and you've written to, maybe a lot of them were from an email database. You've emailed 10,000 people. Now you don't know which of these to reach out to. You can actually gauge their interest by seeing how they've actually interacted with the content that you mail them, or with the content that you put out on your website. And from that, you can sort of gauge interest and have salespeople reach out to certain of these people to convert them into customers. And you get views like this in a lot of these tools, right? In a lot of these tools, you can look at somebody who is a potential customer and see all the interactions that have happened with them. Have they come to you through Google AdWords? Have they viewed one of your email messages? And by looking at that customer history, you can sort of make a call on whether or not it's time to send a salesman over. Another way you can capture leads is through forms. So you can create these forms and put them out on your content pages. So we created a page with content for Tally, 5 accounting tips for small firms. As people read the content and come to the bottom of the content, you can have your software throw up a form which asks for the name, email, phone number, etc. And sometimes people also use these forms as gatekeepers to desirable content to encourage people to sign up. So you could say, would you like to sign up for a newsletter? And if people like the kinds of newsletter articles you send out, they might sign up to get them on a regular basis. You might have important white papers that people can download if they sign up through a form. So you can use forms to capture data about prospective customers who visited your site, right? So you've created content and you've used the content to bring people to a website or to a property that you control. And once they've come to that property that you control, the way you can get their identity is by using forms like this or through email marketing. Now, will this always work? That is the interesting part. It does not always work. Okay, and why does it not always work? It won't work if you have a competitor who creates more content than you. Okay, so if you're in a market where there is a big guy who creates an enormous amount of content, you may find that content marketing does not work, okay? And this applies even to SEM and SEO. So sometimes we find firms which tell us, we have spent a lot of money on search engine marketing, we pay for Google AdWords, that Google charges us about 100 rupees per click, and we get about 150 clicks a month, but none of them are converting into customers. The problem is that in many cases, people who are looking for content end up going to the larger players' website because that's the content they're more likely to find, right? So if you have a competitor who creates an awful lot of content, maybe 100 times as much content as you, then when somebody searches for that keyword, you're more likely to find your competitor's content than yours. And in those cases, content marketing does not work. And this is a problem for most small firms. If you're a 20-person firm and you're trying to sell into a market where there is a 5,000-person firm, there's so many CRM vendors, right? There's so many CRM firms, small CRM firms. If you use content marketing to bring CRM customers to your door, you're not going to succeed because Salesforce has an awful amount of literature on CRMs. Anybody who searches for it is most likely to come across some content from one of the big vendors, and it's going to be very difficult for you to get customers in through that channel. So anybody who's working in a space that's even close to it, may not be exactly the same space as a big competitor, but who's in roughly the same area as a big player, is going to have a lot of difficulty in getting SEO, SEM, or content marketing to work for you. Okay, and this is something that very few people understand, right? So take for example this case, right? So you have a competitor, so we just discussed a startup versus a big firm problem. It can also happen if there's a big open source project out there, So there are lots of entrepreneurs in Bangalore who run services firms. So you may be running a firm which sells Android or iOS development services. If you try to use content marketing and you write articles on Android or on iOS, you're going to have a hard time bringing in customers through that channel, because people are just going to go to the Android website. People are just going to go to the Apple website to pick up their content. So it's very difficult for a service vendor to compete with the, with the source of the information, with the source of that technology that the person is dealing with, right? So in those cases, again, this may not work. Another space where it doesn't work is actually where you have a commoditized product and a lot of service providers. For example, if you're providing something like investment advice, or if you're a chartered accountant, it'll be hard for you to compete with all the other chartered accountants out there using content marketing, just because the chances of somebody finding you are going to be much lower than, the probabilities just don't work out very favorably in that case. So one way how do you tackle that? How do you tackle the problem of having a big neighbor in the same market space as you? If you're a B2B firm, if you're a B2C firm or a B2B firm, you could use search engine marketing. You're actually paying for advertisements. So you pay to have your name, your brand name in a place where somebody might spot you. And you just don't you don't only rely on search result rankings. So that's one way you can overcome this problem. But this also depends on this, SEM, the effectiveness of SEM, search engine marketing, that's paying for ads, depends on whether you're a B2C or a B2B firm. The thing is, if you're a B2C firm, anybody who sees an ad that deals with what you're selling, anyone who sees that iPhone ad is likely to be the customer of an iPhone ad. Of an iPhone, right? So any human being is likely to buy Pepsi. Any human being is likely to be a potential customer of electronics goods, right? Or of a car. And so these are the kinds of advertisements that work very well with SEM, right? So here there's no problem. Anyone who sees the ad and clicks on it is a potential customer of that product. With B2B products, it doesn't work that way. So for example, if you're selling an accounting package, your Tally, and you're selling an accounting package, you need to target accountants. Now, of all the humans who come and see your advertisement, how many are likely to be accountants, right? The probability of the person who is viewing your advertisement being a potential customer is kind of low for B2B advertisements. And that's why this does not work. SEM, search engine marketing, does not work very well for B2B products. Okay, so if you just look at the ROI, you will get an idea of why. So let's say you have a budget of $10 and you put out ads on Google advertising your B2B product. The cost per click, let's say it's $1 per click. Okay, so let's say you get 10 clicks, and so there are 10 eyeballs. Now, how many of those eyeballs belonged to people who were accountants? Supposing it was 1 in 10, supposing there were 9 race car drivers who viewed your advertisement, and let's say there was 1 accountant who clicked on it. So then the cost per click being $1, the cost per click by a prospect was actually $10. So to reach out to 1 accountant, to get 1 accountant to view your web page, you have to spend $10. And that's the problem with B2B ROI. This is a little bit complicated, so I'm going to just repeat it again. Let's say you have a B2B ad. Okay, so let's say you have an ad budget of $10, and 10 people click on your ad. So at $1 a click, you spend $10 to get 10 people to visit your website. Out of those 10 people, how many were potential buyers of your product is the determining ratio of your true value. So if only 1 out of the 10 was actually an accountant, then your cost per click by a prospect was actually $10. It was incredibly high. So for B2B advertising, when you use AdWords or any kind of search engine marketing, when you pay for it, your return on investment can be really, really poor. So what can you do? So if you're a B2B startup and you want to promote yourself, one of the most powerful ways you can do that is through interactive marketing. Okay, and interactive marketing is also called relationship marketing or outbound marketing. Some of the products in this space are email marketing automation tools, right? And MailChimp is a popular tool. You have things like Exact Target, Constant Contact. A lot of the marketing automation systems that you've already viewed, like Plumify, they can also do email marketing. Okay, so you need to reach out to people. So you need to stop looking at inbound marketing. You need to do outbound marketing in order to reach out to people if you're a B2B startup. Okay, otherwise it's very difficult to get your initial customers or even to grow. You can also use interactive marketing tools, So interactive marketing tools that operate on social media. So interactive tools that operate over email are your email marketing tools. And similarly, interactive marketing tools can also work on social media. So NewHive is one tool that is built by a Bangalorean firm. What you've already seen can be used again for interactive marketing. Now what's powerful about these tools is that the latest tools, these 3 tools that are listed here, have support for a new kind of analysis called intention analysis. They can spot people's complaints, people's requests, or inquiries. So if someone inquires about a B2B product, someone actually goes on social media and asks a question about something that you're selling, these tools can spot them automatically. And I'm going to show you some examples of it. So here are some examples of leads that were spotted using artificially intelligent, interactive marketing tools like NewHive or Celestia or Airbot, right? So for example, you see there on top, there is a message. Somebody's asked about, should they go for Exact Target or Yes Mail, right? And then you see another message was received from somebody looking for, a platform for a client. Somebody else was looking for a digital marketing agency in Mumbai. There's an inquiry, somebody's inquiring about the best marketing automation tools. So these inquiries can be spotted by your interactive marketing systems, and they can immediately let you go out and reach out to the person. So you immediately know you have a customer, and you can put your sales team on the case, right? So they identify customers very precisely, very accurately, and they give you a way to go and reach out to them. Another class of tools, a very new set of tools, also model your B2B buyer personas. So they work by letting you configure the kind of B2B buyer you are selling to. For example, if you're selling to chartered accountants, they let you configure that you're looking for chartered accountants. And then they automatically build lists of people who are chartered accountants. Then they give you a way of connecting with them, and then they score and prioritize. They do lead scoring for you. So these are 4 tools that we've identified that are capable of doing this. Let me give you an example of B2B buyer persona modeling, okay? So if you have a B2B buyer, if you want to identify a B2B buyer who buys digital marketing software, their job role is possibly going to be that of a CMO. They're probably going to be talking about marketing, digital marketing, SMES, social media marketing, so they could be talking about these keywords. They could be fairly senior, any location, any company size, I don't care. So if you look at this sort of a B2B buyer persona, you can configure it into the buyer persona modeling tools, and they will build a list of such customers for you. Okay, so here is an example of an intelligent tool that has gone out and found such customers for you, right? So you can see 3 CMOs that it has picked up. These can also let you search for CEOs of firms or CMOs of firms automatically. So you can take a list of firms out of some database, and they can go and identify people in certain roles in those firms and build databases of such people. And they can then give you a way to interact with them. So these tools can be used for interaction or for some other things, okay? In the interactive mode, they can give you suggestions on how to interact with the person you're trying to reach out to. And look at the ROI of interaction on B2B sales, okay? When you're trying to do B2B sales or B2B marketing, let's say your budget is $10 again. Okay, the same budget as for SEM. Let's say you have a budget of $10. Let's say you can pay somebody for 1 hour with $10. In 1 hour, a person can reach out to over 100 people using such a tool. Okay, the tool automatically identifies the person you need to interact with, and it gives you a way to interact with them. Okay, so if you interact with 100 people in an hour, you will typically get about 1/10 of those people you'll be able to connect with. So you might get about 10 people out of the 100 that you reached out to might come and view your social media profile or your website. And out of the 10 people who viewed your profile, one person might decide to follow you. All of this within 1 hour, okay? If you look at the benefits, the cost per view is still $1, okay? To get one viewer, you still pay out $1. But since you picked the profile to reach out to very carefully, your cost per view by a potential prospect is also $1, okay? So in this case, the 10 people who viewed your website would have all been accountants, okay? Because you only try to interact with accountants. You built a list of accountants, and then you went out and interacted with these accountants. And let's say out of the 100 accountants that you interacted with, 10 of them viewed your site, and one of them, became a member of the audience, right? And that is the benefit of using interactive marketing for B2B startups and B2B sales. So you can get something like this. You can get a follower, chart. You can keep building your audience. You can keep building your awareness, and that solves the problem that we started out with. When you're a very small-sized company, you don't have a reputation, you don't have an audience. But using interactive marketing, you can sort of build enough of a reputation, enough of an audience to kick off, the chance that you could use other marketing channels and other marketing tools. So once you get enough of an audience, you can use, social media marketing tools. Once you get enough of a reputation, you can use listening and customer support tools. So you can get to a certain size to enable other kinds of marketing to become effective using interactive marketing. Another kind of marketing that's possible using persona modeling tools is influencer marketing, okay? So with B2B marketing tools, you can model B2B buyers' personas, build lists of such buyers, and these first two steps are the same as for interactive marketing. But then you can identify who are the influencers of these people. You can identify the key influencers, the media, the people, the tags that they look for. You can reach out to your customers through their influencers. So for example, here's an example. Here's an example of marketers and the sources of information that influence marketers. So you can see that marketers get a lot of their information from the HubSpot website. A lot of them get their information about marketing from Social Media Examiner. A lot of them read Social Media Today. And then you can see that in the last 30 days, a website called Marketing Land has become very influential. Okay, so there's a new website which is moving up the rankings and becoming very influential very quickly. What you can do is you can go to these sites and ask to be allowed to write an article for them. And a lot of them have programs which let you write articles for them. By putting your article on one of these sites, as opposed to on your own site, it's called guest blogging. By doing guest blogging, you can possibly reach out to a lot more people than you could by writing articles and putting them up on your own site. Okay, so that is one way you can use influencer information. You can also compare different categories of buyers and see, are there any particular influencers that work more on one category of potential customers than others. So you can do influencer analysis using B2B persona modeling tools, right? So these were two major categories of tools that I discussed, actually three major categories. We discussed ORM tools, we discussed content marketing tools, and then we discussed interactive marketing tools, right? So at this point, I just wanted to hand it back to Pradeep. Pradeep, how are we doing on time? So another thing is the panelists who are here with me today. Yeah, how are we doing on time, Pradeep?
Yeah, so we are already at 3:50. I think, so thanks Carlos. I think we could probably get into quickly Q&A. If Chirantan and Pawan may want to take 2 minutes, to present something, that's perfectly fine. Quickly want to maybe give a summary of what you shared or a mention of a tool. Otherwise, I think if we can get on to Q&A, that would be great. And I get that Chirantan has to be, leaving post 4:10. So I think even then we won't have too much time for Q&A. So Chirantan, maybe, and Pawan, you can quickly share some of your insights, and then we at least spend 15-20 minutes on Q&A. That would be what I would recommend. Chirantan, just a minute. You are currently on mute. Chirantan, just wait, right? You are currently on mute. We will need to, because there are multiple. Yes. Can you just, Chirantan should be fine now. Can you just speak now? You're still not audible. Hello?
This kind of help?
Yes, yes, Chirantan. Now it's audible.
Okay. So, first of all, it's a pleasure being in your webinar, and let me take a quick gauge since we are kind of out of time. So, would you be able to make me the presenter so I can share a slide, which would be the reference point?
Just a minute. I'll do that. Yes, you should now have got the invite for that. Chirantan, did you get the option? Or,
yes. I hope you all can see my screen. What
yes,
I wanted to open with, everybody kind of knows the word Roger that. We always kind of respond saying like, yeah, Roger that. But do we really know what it means? In the end, it's something that you don't really know. You know that's sort of an acknowledgement. But if you really even try to wiki it, search it in Google, you won't find a definitive answer. You would see it's going to the Marine Corps in US and the Army, both of them, but in the end it's not. So in marketing, I drive the same point. Is it good enough to just know the key players and kind of half bake it with Roger that? Whereas, would you rather like to know where do you want to spend and how much do you want to spend? Because in the screen, as you will see, there are all the vendors that are available in the market and the tools. But that gets you into a point of being, and this is an environment where you see all of your data coming from all the different parts. My previous panelist has definitely gone through that, and I won't reiterate in any of the parts. But you will see that if you have a content marketing system, then you're pulling all of your data and shooting it to your content distribution network. Whether it's emails, advertisement, webinars, videos, presentation, images, whatever. And this is the analytics data that you're catching and you're shooting into an artificial intelligence. Whether you have a tool like Marketo or any other that we have been discussing, but it is an AI that gathers the intelligence for you and makes it an insightful action for you to take it forward. And your CDN is like an environment that aggregates agencies, advertisement, display, content networks, DSPs, ad exchanges, all of that. Whether you are a small and medium business or that of a big enterprise, in the end of the day, you have to think about how to make sense of your marketing dollars or rupees and get as much return as you can. So thereby you're looking at all of this analytics from your web, mobile, social networks, your ERP and TRM, and that kind of needs to blend into your big data environment. Whether you choose to have a big data integrator or not, you can use some stuff like Salesforce.com or any other online CRM tools to pull and placate your data into nuggets of consumption. But in the end of the day, as my co-panelist has said, is it really working for you? So in order to know that, you need insightful actions. Since we are pressed for time, I am not going to go to all the verticals of customer events and USPs versus CSF, because that is something that everybody kind of needs to understand. What are the customer pain points or receivers endpoint? So we're looking at profile migration. You need to know that you can go out to the market, find the right cesspool where you can market your data, your content, and thereby get the return actions. If you're looking for leads, then you should be only approaching people who want to buy. It's not about the old times when you think about the relative keywords, people are getting exposed to it, because as you know, Google has launched Hummingbird in its last birthday, and that has changed the algorithm. So if you keep on making all those data tags and smart data allocations to that, and keep on posting all your content and hoping it will be picked up relevantly, it doesn't necessarily happen so. So another part, I'm not here to blow the trumpet for my employer, but there are two tools that you might think about. I'm not advocating that you should go ahead and take our solution, but this is a way of thinking, a point of view of getting actionable insights. Listening solution is something that goes ahead. It's somewhat of an online reputation management, but it is also an aggregator. It will not only find where the influencers are, but it will tell you what kind of messaging you should be giving out to these people. So that is something that is very, very important as a marketer, to not only see where and how you should go, you should also be getting insights that are they looking at video content more, and in video content are they looking at the content that you're trying to portray out. Because if your content team does not engage in that manner, you're being counter-effective. One example would be, if I'm trying to buy a camera, do I really talk about, hey buddy, what camera do you buy in my Facebook? No, I don't. In my Twitter, will I talk about camera? Will I go and like Nikon S64 or something like that? It really doesn't happen in that way in a consumer world. And similarly, a lot of marketers, when they're looking at tool sets and for the customer profiling, they do not really use the keywords that a seller might be thinking. So you kind of need to get a profile and understanding, a handle on the profile of who you're talking about. So that is what listening does. And voice over customer analytics is another thing that we have done it. Since we are kind of short of time, I won't go in detail, but 100 CEOs in US had convened together to come up with a STEM solution for US education economy. And since our CEO was also a part of it, we went ahead and got all the insights of these 100 CEOs. These are all fireplace videos we're talking about. We are talking about just some recordings. We are talking about some apps they have responded to, and also a lot of voluminous data that has been printed out. All of that is fed into a voice of customer analytics VOCA platform, and that keeps on churning the insights that these CEOs in the end like to see. There is the rendition of infographics that you can see, and obviously you can go to the link that I posted over there to get a better overview of things. So that kind of takes us to a different platform when we are talking about platforms and so many marketing tools, you as a marketer, what do you really have to do to make sure that your content is well received? First is segment your group, find out where your buyer or target audience is, and find out who the key influencers are and the key influential topic. Then there is a term called A/B testing that we keep on saying in web designing, that what is working and what is not. Maybe my graphic is working, my video is not, my content is positioned in a place that's not working. So you have to kind of use the market automation tools, either my company's or any other that is available over there, and do a vigorous A/B testing to profile the data segment and then converge and make it happen for your business. So whether you're spending 4 rupees or 400 USD on a keyword in double-click dart in Google, but in the end, you kind of need to be sensitive that it is bringing the quality of lead that you want, because clicks don't really matter. As my co-panelist told in a previous one, a very cute advertisement especially came on YouTube a lot, also on TV from Adobe, click baby click. It kind of illustrates the point that if you keep on producing encyclopedias based on the click, you might end up producing a lot of product and see it is one single child which is simply hitting one button in a laptop because he likes the red button. So we need to be very, very insightful on the marketing dollars that we spend and the return that we get. In the end, that is content marketing, that is sentiment analysis, that is profile behavior. So we're talking about a marketing halo of product baskets. It's when you go shopping, you keep on seeing that there are product baskets and the keywords that people are using. You need one platform. Probably you would like to get one single platform that can handle all of your collaterals and asset needs, whether it's a video, EDMs, or it might be Twitter's, your Twitter handles, it might be your Facebook community, your LinkedIn community, whichever way you're reaching out to the market. It might be even webinars. In the end of the day, I'm speaking to all of you people, and I would like to know how is it really working out with this collaboration. Thereby, this slide, I always keep on having it for a longest period of my presentation, because in the end, if I'm not really collaborating with you all, it defeats the purpose of this communication. This webinar becomes a one-way traffic, and even beyond a Q&A, it doesn't serve a purpose. So I hope that was insightful. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Chirantan. Pawan, would you like to share something, or can we get directly into Q&A? I'll make you, yeah. Pawan, you are a presenter now. You would have got the request for that. Is there anything very, very quickly you want to talk about, and then we get into Q&A because we are already running short of time? Pawan, you would have to accept the request for becoming the presenter. Did you get that? Hello?
Pawan, I think you're muted. Could you unmute yourself?
Yes, Pawan. Yeah. Pawan, I think, can you just speak now?
Yeah, I can speak now.
Okay. Yeah,
am I
Pawan.
able? Yeah. Are you able to see my
screen? Your screen. Yes.
All right. Thanks for this opportunity. Unlike the typical tools or the most commonly available tools in the market today, Plump, I would like to say that we are not marketing-centric or a content-centric tool. So we are a customer-centric tool. We try to solve some unsolved challenges by being customer-centric. Today we try to solve some unique challenges that is in the context of providing a unified view of customers and about providing the unsolved challenges of converting anonymous visitors into known customers, and then providing the ability to engage with them in real time while they are in session. So most of our panelists actually at this point are talking about inbound traffic and the ability to optimize the marketing dollars. But the key question still remains, what's happening to the conversion? So being a small and medium business, it's important that you have conversions as your prime objective in terms of for your growth and for your in order to move forward from your SME state or a startup state to a big corporation state. So in this context is what we are focused on. That's what our company is about. Plum5 actually solves all these unique challenges with some, very innovative and disruptive technologies. And we would love to give you a more detailed view of this to any of the participants who are participating in this webinar now. So I guess I've stuck to my 3 minutes in this.
Got it. So great. Thanks, Pawan. I've heard good about Plum5, and definitely I think for SMBs the key is to be able to finally convert your customers. While all of us focus on traffic, which is important, but finally the ROI is determined by number of customers we are able to acquire. I can see there are different kinds of questions which are being asked. There are different types of questions being asked. What I quickly want to do is, as we get into Q&A, I will parallelly run a poll. So I can see there are questions about going deeper in learning some of these techniques. Some of the questions are about our training program. I wouldn't want to spend time on that, and for that what I will do is, if all of you who are interested in learning more about our digital marketing training, just let us know your interest, or if you're not interested, again let us know, so that we can talk to you outside this webinar in detail about that. And while we are doing this, one of the very, very important questions I think in different flavors which is being asked is about the application of marketing automation tools for SMBs. Definitely large brands, large companies use tools like Eloqua or Marketo. For a small and medium business, which are the kind of tools which make sense to invest in, or if there are tools which are free but still useful to do marketing automation, that would be of great value to all our entrepreneurs who are out there. So I would really request Kohan to share, while you would have shared some of the tools in this presentation itself, but if you can let us know some of the tools which are free, which are useful for SMB, especially in the context of marketing automation, Kohan, that would be useful.
Yes, I can actually talk to that. So there are a few tools which you can use, which don't cost anything. The first is Google Analytics. So you'll find that in the Plum5 presentation as well. They've compared their cost with Google Analytics. There's a free version of Google Analytics. So you can look at how many visitors have visited your site and where they're going using that. You can also get free versions of various social listening tools and interaction tools as well. Hootsuite and tools like that probably have free versions that you can use for a limited period of time, or that you can use with various volume limits. And you can use those for listening, but very often the platforms themselves. So you can go to Facebook and you can get quite a lot of power out of Facebook itself. So Facebook has an analytics tool which lets you calculate which of your posts on Facebook have had the most interaction, which of these have an extremely like to which people have shared most. You can find it out from Facebook itself. So Facebook has its own analytics. Now Twitter has started providing its own analytics. You can use those on social media, and for search engine to see how your pages, your content is performing on SEO, you can use Google Analytics. But unfortunately, for anything above that, you have to go with paid tools. So if you want to get, like Pawan was saying, if you want to get a unified view of a customer, if you want to know who is likely to buy your stuff, if you want to reach out to them, you have to use paid tools. That's it.
Got it. Thanks, Kwan. So what you've shared is Google Analytics. Facebook has this Facebook Insights. Some of the free version of tools like Hootsuite. One tool which I recently got to know related to finding and identifying influencers on Twitter is Twitterland. The way it is pronounced, I have just sent that as an answer to questions to all of you. I'll do that in the chat as well so that all of you have got this. It is twtrland.com. It's a tool which allows you to find out who are the influencers in a particular subject matter area in a defined geography. So for example, if you want to find out project management experts or influencers in US, it would be able to tell you who are those on Twitter. So it has a free version which does reasonably good job to a certain number of people. Of course, it has a paid version which will be able to give you far more data. So I think, yeah, there are a number of tools across social media and outside of social media for effective listening and automation. And I'm sure a lot of tools are being covered in this presentation as well. And some of you had asked question about, would this presentation be available? Yes, we are recording this session, so we would be sharing with you the recording of this webinar. Second, we would also be, Kohan, would it be possible for you to send us the PowerPoint of this presentation? We'll convert that into PDF and then share with the audience. I think a lot of times people just want to quickly refer to the deck. Would that be possible, Kohan, to do that?
Absolutely, I'll do that. I thought of one more free tool. ViewHive has a free version as well. So the tool that I talked about in there for interactive marketing called ViewHive, it has a free version as well.
ViewHive.
And yes, I'll be making
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be making the presentation available.
Great. And in the same, if you can include the presentation from Pawan as well as Srirantan, that would be great. I think that would be useful for our audience here. You can just mail me after this session and we can then, make it available to the people. Then I think someone wants to understand what is the difference between inbound interactive marketing or content marketing. We've been using terms differently or interchangeably. Is there a difference the way it should be used technically, or interactive marketing and content marketing can be used interchangeably? So if you could just clarify that, that would be useful as well.
Sure, I can talk to it. So again,
should I take this up?
Marketing is not. Yeah, of course. Why don't you do that?
See, one basic thing that a lot of B2B marketers have been pondering about is how to best utilize the inbound traffic. Now, the inbound traffic has many layers. Depending on the size of your business, you have coming to your CRM system, your partner network, your distributor network, and then your customers. So you are talking about eCRM and social CRM, where you are getting a lot of influencers who might not be also buyers. So these are all the inbound channels, but content marketing is sort of influencing the inbound marketers in a positive way to engage them into a conversation. So again, this is more of all the avenues of input data that comes in and how you are engaging them. It's a channel versus a platform.
Got it. Thanks, Srirantan, for clarifying that. There are a couple of more questions, and I think one or two I can answer as well. So Jalise Ahmed had asked a question about Hummingbird algorithm and how it has made difficult for the digital marketeers. So Jalise, what had happened was a couple of months back, Google updated its algorithm, and that update was called Hummingbird algorithm. Now, before that, there were two other algorithms update. One was Panda and another was Penguin. Penguin update was essentially to penalize sites which have taken links from other websites which are of not quality, and Panda update was to penalize sites which had created content in volume but the quality of content was not good. So those were two key updates before Hummingbird update, which had impacted a lot of sites. Now after the Hummingbird update, we are honestly still to see the impact of that on ground and what should be the approach. But fundamentally what Hummingbird algorithm says is the directional approach Google is taking. To share with you, fundamentally what initially we used to do earlier was we used to put a keyword and then we used to get sites and then we used to go to the sites to find out the information about those keywords. But fundamentally, each one of us, when we are searching on a search engine like Google, we have a question for which we want to get an answer. Like, what is the score of, say, Rajasthan Royals or one particular team in a current match? Which is the movie, cinema where this particular movie is available? Or there could be more questions. So what Google is saying that ultimately our commitment is that we can directly give you answers to your questions. So rather than you putting a keyword, then getting sites, and then looking into answer to your question, your search query, if it is more conversational in nature or more of a type of a question, we would be able to give you direct answer or results which are more attuned to that. So after Hummingbird update, that is where Google is seeing the direction. And Google is seeing direction not just at their end, but definitely at the end of the searchers. So that is what fundamentally it says, that when you create content on your website, if your content is more conversational in nature, and your content tries to answer the questions your visitors are likely to ask, then you are going to get better rankings on Google. So rather than just stuffing your keywords in different places of a web page, make your page such that you are answering the questions of your visitors. I think that's what fundamentally Hummingbird algorithm is. Right, Delise, I hope it helps. There is one more question I think we can answer before we complete for this session, and that is about what the choice of SEO versus SEM and social media marketing budget. So Pahan, would you like to answer that? Someone has asked a question that he runs a fashion jewelry brand and would want to find out what should be the breakup of budget per month between SEO, SEM, and social media.
So yes, now this is a very interesting question, and I don't specialize in this. So I was wondering if I could ask Pavan. Pavan, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Typically, if you are a fashion brand and the way you need to optimize for your budgets for your SEM vis-a-vis your SEO is, by first thing would be to analyze where is your traffic coming from. So is it that your SEM traffic are resulting in more conversions, or is it your organic search or SEOs are resulting in more conversions? So at the end of the day, if your drive or if your goal is to increase conversions, you should be putting more money on the sources or the mediums where you're getting more conversion related traffic. So it would differ. I would say that it would differ from a brand to brand, to a product to product, and to an industry to industry. So I would suggest that why don't you go up and look at your analytics and figure out which source is actually driving more conversions, and you can bet your money on that.
All right. Thanks, Pawan. And I think another thing which you should keep in mind when you are looking at choosing, especially say between SEO and SEM, and especially if you are starting from scratch, is a time when you start expecting results. Say for a new site, typically it takes few weeks, if not few months. Largely now it takes few months before you start seeing results from SEO. While SEM can start giving you results in few hours or if not in few days. So that is another decision-making criteria. Otherwise, definitely in terms of where you are going to get the returns is one criteria. Second, very, very important criteria is what is your objective. So you're running a fashion jewelry.
I just want to add to what I just said. Would that be possible?
Please, Pawan.
Yeah. Another way to look at it is about utilizing some of your analytics tools like attribution modeling. So attribution modeling will provide you an insight into which are the sources that are actually resulting in conversions. So irrespective of your paid traffic or your organic search or your referral search, it will give you a very good insight in terms of providing where you should put your money into. At Plum5, we provide a very unique attribution model which is based on engagement, which provides you the context of the ability to, I would say, that gauge the intent of the user when he is there on the site. So the attribution modeling is something that you should be looking at to identify the media efficacy, and based on that you can put your decide on your marketing.
Got it, Pawan. Sure. I think once someone starts getting traffic, the attribution becomes a challenge as well as very important element. Just coming back to, as student has confirmed that they have not yet started digital marketing. So what becomes very important before you are able to even measure is what are the broad level criteria. One I have shared is SEO is long-term, SEM can be fast, but if you can do SEO well, it can be far more conversion oriented and cost effective as well. Then second element is in terms of what is your objective. Like social media, unless there are very few specific elements of that, is not going to result in very high conversions or very high traffic to begin with. While it can help you create credibility, can help you, create that initial branding and also help you influence the final conversions, but don't rely on social media alone to drive traffic which converts to real customers. So I think that are some of the elements you need to consider when you are starting afresh in terms of making a decision between these three areas. Otherwise, once you are into it, what Pawan shared in terms of your ability to measure, your ability to attribute where the results are coming will definitely guide you in your future decision-making process, right? So that's all I wanted to share in this. I think there are still a couple of more questions, but since we are already at 4:20, we would want to, close the webinar here. I first want to thank you, all our panelists for taking their time out for this session. I want to thank all of you, our participants, stay so long and actively participating in this. We will be having our next webinar next Wednesday on, another very, very important area called big data for marketeers. And we have someone very senior from IDC talking about that. So do join us for that webinar. Otherwise, for all of you who had shown interest to know more about how you can use and learn digital marketing, we'll be reaching out to you. And if you also want to join a session on this Friday about digital marketing for customer acquisition, we have an orientation session as well. So if you go to our digital marketing course page on our website, you will be able to register for that, right? So thank you once again, everyone. We look forward to welcoming you again in our future webinar. Thanks, Pawan, and Chirantan for taking out time and sharing your insights. Thanks once again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.